Yo, it's me, Captain Gold, and you're watching the third episode of my month-long Project Zomboid Survival Guide series for beginners. In the previous episode, our protagonist, Rebecca Salvatore, managed to obtain a functioning vehicle while also getting her hands on some valuable VHS tapes, tools, and supplies from downtown Riverside. She also fought her first sizable horde and came out victorious. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out before continuing on with this part. Also, go ahead and check out the playlist I made for this very series. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling on this episode. Becca woke up on the fourth day a little late than usual. No alarm was set because I had a busy day planned for her, hence the cooking show was not a priority this morning. Instead, Becca got some food and water, and then she began to finish loading the van with supplies for the planned move to a more permanent location on the outskirts of Riverside. But before the move could happen, I had to get my hands on a generator magazine. The generator itself should be at the location I plan to move to, so hopefully I'll be able to finish these objectives for Becca in no time. That said, in order to get this vitally important skill magazine, I opted to head towards the Riverside Elementary School. The school has a library stocked with useful books, so there's actually a decent chance for me to find the skill mag that I want. Anyways, I was expecting a horde to be present at the school, but to my delight, the area was totally clear. Except for that one lone Zed in the hallway. I guess that teacher didn't get the memo that school was out. Since she didn't have a hall pass, I end up stomping her ass. And then I go on to enjoy some kids' bagged lunch. I then take a red and black varsity school jacket, because not only is it good drip, but it also provides me with a little bit of protection. Not that I need it anyway, because I'm a pro. But for those of you who are still novices, it never hurts to layer up a bit if you're planning on combating the undead. Just keep in mind that more layers of clothing means higher body temperature. And higher body temperature and clothing weight means slower attack speed, more exhaustion, and potential sweating. If it's cold outside, that's what can eventually get you sick. It's best to stay dry. Anyways, I go on to loot the school's shitty library and I find exactly what I wanted. The How to Use Generators magazine is now mine, thus completing yet another objective. I also take a few more skill books and magazines with me, like the Lane's Auto Manual for standard models, a few skill books, and even a hunting magazine. The car mag is to allow me to further work on standard vehicles. The hunting mag unlocks some craftable items that'll be useful later on in the game. And the skill books are pretty self-explanatory. After looting the library, I went out to the empty parking lot to search the cars. I did find a nice sports car, but it was locked. The big black van had a key in it, but it also didn't have any gas. It did, however, have matches, which is what I desperately needed. I decided to leave the van there for now, and I also marked its location, that way I'd be able to get to it if I was ever stuck in the area without a ride. A simple, empty water bottle can hold some gas, so this van could save my life one day. After that, I went on to pick up this barbecue grill. It's a nice looking piece of furniture that allows me to cook without using electricity or propane. All I really need is some wood. Then I got into my van and began the process of moving out of Riverside. That being said, the first stop would be the gas station near the VHS store because I needed to fill up my van with some gas. I kept my speed low, under 2 RPM, to avoid garnering unwanted attention. But attention was, unfortunately, unavoidable. As per usual, I opt to save my stamina by kiting the Zeds away from the area. I used the trees, the fence, and the houses to break them apart and to cut line of sight. Then I waited a few seconds to ensure that they pathed to the house near me. And then I snuck away, vaulting over this fence. I was then greeted by 3 panhandling Zeeks. Now I couldn't spare them any change, so I gave them my rod instead. After killing those walkers, I decided to check the vehicles nearby. I found 2 keys on the ground. Lucky me. Then I walked over to the police station to check out the cop car. The doors were locked, but the trunk was open and it had a sack, which would be useful for farming down the road. I then removed the ham radio from the cop car because it's a cool looking radio. That, and I wanted to show all of you how easy it is to find a radio with the emergency broadcasting system. All cop cars have ham radios and all ham radios have that frequency. So if you're not as lucky as I am, you can simply find a cop car and loot it. All you need is a screwdriver, which is yet another reason why the holy trinity of Zomboid is so important. I then break into a gas station and loot it for supplies. I eat some food and I also find an ass load of cigarettes, matches, and lighters. Now Becca's depression troubles will be much easier to manage. Then I go on to pick up this nice ice freezer box, as it'll make for excellent storage and refrigeration for future crops. After loading up the van, I calmly walk to the police station again. It's rather fortunate that this area is fairly clear of Zeds, but that's why Riverside is such a beginner-friendly town. The Zed population is spread out on top of the town having a lower Zeke count than the larger towns. Yo, this dude died in his cell. That fucking sucks. Well, time to dismantle this door, as breaking it down with a weapon is loud, exhausting, and a stupid use of my time. I then loot the station's armory. Now, there were no real useful guns aside from this spare 9mm pistol, but there's some ammunition, especially for my shotgun. Time to refill my water bottles. I then head back to my van and get ready to head out, but first, it's time to fill up my van's gas tank. You can refill your vehicle straight from the pump if you're close enough to the pump. The gas cap is always on the driver's side of your vehicle. You can right-click on the car to initiate the process, or you can hold V to open the vehicle wheel, and there you can also refill from the pump directly. After that, I grab some garbage bags and drive Becca's van to the police station. I could really use that water dispenser. It holds a ton of fresh water and makes for an excellent backup supply for whenever the power and water utilities shut off. Well, it's about time to hit that dusty old trail. As you can see, the countryside is littered with these fuckers. As I drive by these buildings, I take note of my surroundings. There's a gas station, auto shop, and a community nearby. I decide to pull into this storage facility. It'll serve as my main base from now on. It has a pre-existing perimeter fence, is out on the outskirts of Riverside, and has plenty of loot to work with. The only real downsides are that there isn't a water source nearby, and that there isn't a second story. I can eventually build some gates and additional walls for added defenses, so that's not really an issue. All things considered, this location will do just fine, and I happen to think that this particular storage facility is one of the better base locations in Riverside. That being said, it's time to clear the area and loot anything that's easy to loot for now. And just like that, I find a generator, thus completing my list of objectives. Now I just gotta focus on looting this location and settling down, amongst other objectives that I'll have to work on later. Sadly, I found no storage keys on the dead bodies, so I'm gonna have to break these unit doors down manually. After some more looting and unloading, I decide it's time to hunker down in this storage unit, especially since it has a functional door and mattresses to sleep on. With that being said, it's gonna be a few busy days settling down here, so it's time to go to bed. When Becca woke up the next day, it was raining outside. I decided to continue unloading supplies. Then I opted to search the facility for more loot. I found another generator, which was a great find. Now I could eventually set up a generator at a gas station down the street for whenever the power went out. That's how you're able to get gas after utilities shut off. I checked this random car left here on property. The key was left on the ground. I also found some matches and other shit. I decided to then check out this part of the facility. I found some useful items and even more generators. I then decided to start breaking down some of these unit doors. But that got boring, so I decided to reinforce the windows of the main building. I'm kind of thinking of making this area my main base. Then I went back to beating some more doors. Then I ate a quick snack. After that, I noticed that the day was going by fast, and I decided it was an appropriate time to go check out the warehouses down the street. Now I'm hoping to find a sledgehammer, as that would make breaking down the unit doors much easier. There's a small horde here, but I'll just ignore it for now. The back door is nice and open. Area's pretty clear. Time to loot. I end up finding a plethora of useful tools and supplies, including some crowbars, which by the way is my favorite weapon. It is super reliable and has plenty of other useful uses aside from breaking skulls. I also found some rope, which will make life a lot easier when I start chopping trees down later on. Then I take some clothing, because that's always useful. I then leave the building. Seems like the horde has wandered off. Time to head back to base. It's getting dark and Becca is physically exhausted and drowsy. I eat a quick snack and take a quick rest. Then I start breaking down another unit door. And it's empty. Oh look, another generator! Now that it's late as fuck, I decide to unload shit and take a smoke break. And with that, it's time to hit the sack. Becca wakes up the next day, ready to continue looting. But before I can begin yet another boring day, I opt to check out the emergency broadcast frequency. And there it is. This is why the frequency is so important early on. The helicopter event is certainly going to be happening today or tomorrow. Now today would be earlier than usual, so I'm betting it'll be tomorrow. I need to make preparations. But first, I gotta grab a TV to watch Woodcraft, and I also need to finish looting this facility. Also, time to finish barricading this building real quick. Corpse management is important. You don't want to catch corpse sickness. Wait a second. Do you hear that? Oh, fuck.